Good morning, Warzone kids. I was thinking about the Grail Woods and my kind of most recent experience in the Grail Woods, which was whenever 5 years ago, something like that. The last time I really felt like I was in the Grail Woods, but they may come again. You can find yourself in the Grail Woods any number of times in life. But each time gets a little bit easier, at least for me, once I kind of think of it that way. If I'm lost and I don't know where I am and I don't know where to go and everything's coming out from under me and I'm in the dark woods and there's no path, I'm in the Grail Woods. That means I should stop looking for a path and just make my own. Discover your path while you make it, and make your path while you discover it. But I was reflecting on how I feel like what it was exactly that my shrink was doing. I was talking about him in my last video about this. And what he was doing, asking me over and over and over again, any number of different questions around like what brought me joy, what brought me bliss, what did I feel like I was losing myself in a positive way. I feel like that's a kind of like conditioning, kind of just building up those mental formations in my mind. The sankhara in my mind, mental formations, use a term from Buddhism, from Zen. Mental formations. He was kind of building up the mental formations in my mind that would help me get in touch with myself, with whatever it is when people say your true self, your authentic self, your inner voice, your inner child, your conscience, whatever that is, your unconscious, your subconscious, whatever that is. If you're a war zone kid, I'm a child sex abuse survivor, and whatever your war zone was that kind of hindered, that moved your Jenga tower from a solid structure that you came into this cosmos with, probably, into a tall, swaying, unstable, leaning tower of hogwash that you're an adult trying to live with. Like I live with borderline personality disorder. I'm a recovering addict and bulimic. A lot of narcissism in my psyche to contend with. Whatever that war zone is for you, your childhood that was more like a war zone and less like a supportive nursery, whatever kind of psyche that left you with, particularly if you're a child sex abuse survivor, but maybe I just say that because that's me, it left me with a really kind of rent me in twain, kind of alienated me from myself. And learning and becoming who I am is largely, really more than anything else, a process of learning how to talk to myself and listen to myself so that those two parts of me come closer together, or the different parts of me come closer together, something like that. And I feel that what my shrink was doing, just asking me all those questions over and over again, was building up, just helping me build the habits of mind that would bring me closer to myself. And it made me think of conditioning. Conditioning being a little bit different than, strength training to build big muscles, something like that. Just about every sport, every endeavor has some kind of conditioning. And this is a real, broad term. If you have any kind of athletic background, which I do not. I started running this year, less than a year ago, last spring. I'm going to run in a half marathon coming up here in a few months. I really enjoy it. I've never had any kind of athletic pursuit or goal before. And I remember the first time I started running, I didn't know how to do it, and I made it a lot harder on myself than I had to. I just ran way faster than I should have, and I got winded after 100 yards. I don't think I could run more than 200 yards when I first started. And it's a wonder I kept it up, because I was making it way too hard on myself. But, what I run now for warm-up would have laid me out the first month or so after I started running. And believe me, I am not, I kind of like distance running. My goal for this half marathon is to enter it and finish it, and then I'll see after that. I'm a 51-year-old man. I weigh 194 pounds this morning. Very proud of myself, below 195. That's the lowest I've ever weighed in my adult life. In 6th grade, I weighed 180 pounds, and when I was a freshman in college, I remember weighing 242, and that seemed like a very svelte version of me. So believe me, I am no, record-breaking runner here. But my warm-up, speed now, or my like slow run speed now, something like 5 miles an hour, something like that, that would have laid me out when I first started running. That was only maybe 9 months ago or something like that. I just kind of noticed that the other day. It's wintertime here in Vermont. I was on my treadmill, and I was reflecting on how, setting it to 5 miles an hour was about as fast as I could go for any length of time, just several months ago. It just kind of happens. That's conditioning. They're going to send soldiers off to Afghanistan, for example, or a mountainous area. They're going to send infantrymen off to Afghanistan. As I understand it, one of the first steps in that is you're going to go to some base in the Rocky Mountains for a month or two, and you're going to run up and down hills because you need conditioning. If you're going to work outside, if you're going to be a carpenter outside, you're going to work on houses in the wintertime, there's going to be a very painful, annoying conditioning process involving cold hands and feet and being outside in the wintertime. And that's going to be fairly unpleasant when you get started, but after a while, it'll be considerably less unpleasant. That's conditioning. Zen meditation, Zazen, is conditioning. Conditioning your mind to live in the here and now, and to treat the rest of your life the way you treat it when you're sitting on the cushion. It's conditioning. You cannot read about conditioning. You cannot duplicate it in some other way. Of course you can read about it. You cannot get the benefits of conditioning by reading about it. You can't get the benefits of Zen by reading about it. You have to do it. And you have to keep doing it, even though it seems like it's a stupid waste of time. Then after a while, things are different. Any kind of conditioning is like that, I think. And the conditioning of asking yourself questions about yourself and waiting for the answer. Someone in a 12-step group a long time ago said that prayer and meditation is like this. Prayer is asking for the answer, and meditation is listening for it. Something like that. Well, I know what that means now in my own life. I'm a writer, and I do not sit and wonder what to write next in whatever it is I'm working on. That just, for me, nothing happens. Nothing good is going to come out of my fingertips if I do that. I kind of write whatever it is that's on my mind, and then I just, in my mind, I frame up the question. What is it? What comes next? I don't try to solve the answer. I just pose that question in my mind. What happens next? And I wait and go for a walk or wait till the next day, whatever. My brain cooks it and something will come up. And if it doesn't, I wait till it does. That's conditioning. That's a result of the conditioning of like asking myself what's up and waiting for the answer. And when my shrink asks me over and over again, what brings you joy? What brings you joy? What makes you happy? What occupies your mind? What do you find yourself thinking about? What is it that I do that when I'm doing that thing, I do not want to be doing something else? I like performing. I like writing. I like doing this. When I'm doing this, there's not something else that I would rather be doing. I'm doing this. So, not everyone has access to my shrink. Not everyone has access to any shrink. Not everyone has access to a Jungian analyst. Not everybody wants that. The idea of going to any kind of psychotherapist, let alone an old-fashioned Jungian psychoanalyst, would make a lot of people vomit. And I'm not here to tell you that's the wrong reaction. If that's your reaction, then you're probably not going to get a lot of good out of it. But you don't have to do that to develop the conditioning to ask yourself, to have a conversation with yourself, to ask yourself questions and wait for the answer. Writing is a great way to do it, and I don't mean starting writing stories, although you can do that. I mean, you can ask yourself that question: what is it that brings you joy right now in your life? What is it that brings you joy? Don't worry if there's not an answer. I didn't have an answer the first year or two my shrink was asking me that question. Joy? I don't need joy. I'm tough. Joy's for children. It was like lollipops. I'm a man. I don't need no joy. Well, I can get through a lot. I have a lot of fortitude. I can get through a lot. But I like me some joy when I can get it. And I like bliss. I like doing things that when I'm doing them, I don't want to be doing something else. For me, that's joy. Ask yourself what brings you joy. Maybe that question will make you angry. Maybe you know the answer. If you do, write it down and start doing more of that. And if you say to yourself, if you say, I can't do that, and then you make a long list of the reasons why you can't do that, I bet that's a long list of stuff that would be better off out of your life than in it. No, I don't know. I don't know what's on your list of things that bring you joy. If walking on the moon is the only thing you want to do, then ask yourself why you think the only thing that could bring you joy is something that's impossible to do. That's an interesting question. But you get the idea. You can do your own conditioning. Ask yourself what brings you joy. With anything you're doing or anything you want to do, you could do the big why exercise. This is something you find in a lot of books on creativity. The big why. This means you ask, if you want to do something and you have a goal, why do you have that goal? Ask yourself, why do I want to do this? Write down the answer. Don't tell anyone about it. Don't tell anyone what it is. Just write down the answer, whatever that is for you. And if you can't be honest with yourself and write that down, then that's where you're at. However, whatever level of honesty and candor you can have with yourself right now, that's it. That's where you're starting. Work with that. It's okay. It'll get better. Conditioning. It'll build up over time. Why is that goal important to you? And you think about that and you write down that answer. Here's why that matters to me. And you write down an answer. And then you look at your answer. And you say, why does that matter to me? And then you write down that answer. And you think about it. These get increasingly difficult. It's like Russian nesting dolls. Except maybe instead of getting smaller and smaller, they're like reverse nesting dolls, I think. Yourself gets bigger and bigger the deeper you go. How about that? Inverse, impossible Russian nesting dolls. You yourself, your concept of yourself gets bigger and bigger. Why does that matter to you? Write that answer down. Why does that matter to you? Write that answer down. And at some point, this is why you should do this alone. At some point, most of us will end up bawling. End up bawling like a small child when you get down to that why. Why do I want to do this? Because the why that you're going to come up with, for many people, ends up being something very, very tender and sensitive and related to parts of yourself that you may not even have let yourself look at for a long time. Try it out, Pilgrim. That's something you can do without a psychoanalyst, without any healing mumbo jumbo, without anything else. Why do you want to do the things that you want to do? Why? Ask yourself the question and wait for the answer. Sooner or later, it's going to get down real close to how do we live? How do you live as a human being? What is it that's actually important to you? These things matter, Pilgrim. These things matter a lot, and I'm not sure that much else matters much else at all. Other people matter, of course, but in your life, yourself, your psyche, your heart, I'm not sure what else matters very much. To my way of thinking, that is the conditioning of the Grail Woods. The only way out of the Grail Woods is to trust yourself by picking up your left foot and putting it down in front of your life right now, and then picking up your right foot. Repeat the procedure. In the course of doing that, you're building up the conditioning that you need for the trail to the Western Lands. That's that conditioning, to ask yourself, to look for yourself and wait to hear the response, to ask yourself a question and wait to hear the response. That's a conditioning of the Grail Woods. That's what you get when you get out of the Grail Woods. You were in them and now you're not. I'll bet you that you're in closer touch with yourself after you got out of the Grail Woods. Try it out. Why does what matter to you matter to you? What brings you joy and bliss right now, no matter how grim it is, the rest of your life, no matter what kind of trials and tribulations you're having? What brings you joy in the here and now? I bet there's something there. And it wouldn't surprise me a lick, Pilgrim, if whatever your answer is something that would have been true for you when you were 4 years old or 5 years old, even if you can't remember those ages. Even if the bad things that happened to you had already been happening for some time by the time you were those ages. I'll bet you somewhere in there, that part of you that you're connecting with right now found a way in this cosmos to find some joy. Might have been in trees, might have been in birds or the blue sky, or drawing a painting or listening to music. It might have been anything in the world, but it was something. And it's still in there, Pilgrim. I would wager a donut on it. It's a good thing to think about anyway. Your day today will be much better if you spend a little bit of time pondering on what brings you joy in the here and now. You'll have a better day because of it. I'm already having a better day just because I've been talking to you about that. So these are some light, easy miles today, Pilgrim. Let's get them in. Daylight's burning. Let's get a move on.